and welcome to News Round, where we do you a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. I'm Olumide Macaulay. The headlines: federal government and organized labor finally reach a solution, agree on 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage for Nigerian workers. Senate yields to APC complaints, removes Ali Ndome as chief whip, replaces him with Tahir Ungono. President Bola Tinubu launches student loan scheme to provide financial support to eligible students nationwide. Plus, former U.S. President Donald J. Trump says he is supposed to be dead, days after the attempted assassination at his rally in Pennsylvania. That's News Round in View. Thank you for joining us. We begin News Round in the nation's capital, where the federal government and the leadership of organized labor unions in the country have agreed on 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage. Speaking after the meeting, which was presided over by President Bola Tinubu, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, said in addition, the federal government will be in more investment, bringing in that in renewable energy and the acquisition of CNG buses.
The leadership of organized labor unions arrived at the State House for the second round of meetings with President Bola Tinubu on the new national minimum wage. Last week, the meeting ended inconclusively. The president arrives with his team, including the secretary to the government of the Federation, chief of staff to the president, some ministers, heads of agencies, and aides to the president in attendance. 1.5 hours later, the meeting comes to an end.
To the president.
Cabinet ministers outlined key outcomes of the meeting.
The new national minimum wage that we expect Mr. President to submit to the National Assembly for legislation is 70,000 naira. But that is not all. There is also a boost, like Mr. President has assured, in ensuring that massive investment is going to be made in the area of infrastructure. There is also a deepening of the investment of the federal government in renewable energy. More money is going to go into the acquisition of more buses, the CNG buses.
The review of this minimum wage policy has to be reduced to 3 years. That is, 5 years is too long a time to get any minimum wage review that is not very wealthy.
The labor leaders are more restrained.
We are taking this with mixed feeling because of the situation of the economy. But we have to move ahead, despite the situation, and the negotiation can linger, coming from 62 to 70, and then with the promise that we'll come back soon to negotiate it. We are taking it back to our constituency.
The next review will be 3 years, and after that pronouncement, we from Labour, just has been said that, well, we have received what the president has promised.
While commending the president on the commencement of the student loan fund, they insist on strict compliance.
Not a situation where the children of the rich are the ones who are also able to access the student loans. The parameters must be put in place so that the children of the poor, those that cannot actually afford school fees, should be the target. And they also said they will look at that as well.
We understand that the president has directed that the bill on the new minimum wage be prepared and sent to the National Assembly for passage by next week. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
To economic matters, the House of Representatives is urging proponents of the proposed nationwide protest to shelve the plan and consider patience and dialogue with government instead. This follows a motion of urgent national importance raised by Honorable Ibrahim Isiaka. The House agrees that the challenges are not unique to Nigeria. Meanwhile, the House has resolved that members will sacrifice 50% of their salaries for the next 6 months to support Nigerians.
It is a very busy day for members of the House of Representatives as they settle down for the last plenary session of the week. It is one motion of urgent national importance after another.
The BBC Hausa service reported very scary and disturbing and urgent news yesterday about an order given to the Hausa community living in Ababo town of Ika South local government area of Delta State to leave the town within 4 days.
The minority leader moves a motion to investigate an alleged plot to frustrate the Dangote refinery and calls for urgent action.
The House is called to resolve to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate these matters of the inability of NNPC Limited to subscribe for the 20% shares in Dangote Refinery and lack of supply of crude to Dangote Refinery and report back to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action.
The motion is adopted and the attention of the House turns to a motion of urgent importance on a planned nationwide protest. Lawmakers argue for and against the motion.
Mr. Speaker, we need a very short-term plan considering the emergency situation we're in. We are not praying, Mr. Speaker, if we allow this protest to take place or escalate, Mr. Speaker, we don't know where it stops.
These people that are calling for protest, I believe they don't know what will be the outcome when they go ahead to call for this protest.
If they see that we are giving our best to manage the economy, I think they would try to come to our side.
The Deputy Speaker appeals for calm and proposes an amendment.
Our salary is 500,000 naira. That we look at a percentage of that salary.
For point of correction, is 600.
Oh, 600, sorry. But my own doesn't get up to 600 when I receive it, sir. Maybe some deductions. But based on what you have said, Your Excellency, I'm moving that we amend that prayer to include that members sacrifice maybe 50% of our salary for a period of 3 months or 6 months to help Nigerians and to show that we are in support.
The proposal for 6 months suspension of half of their salaries is adopted, as the House hopes that its action could prompt the proponents of the planned protest to have a rethink. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
To the Federal Executive Council meeting, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says the federal government has distributed 20 trucks of rice each to the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. This, he says, is the first step as government works to address the issue of food shortage in the country. The minister appealed to the governors to ensure the effective distribution of grain to the most vulnerable in society.
Each of the state governors has received 20 trucks of rice for onward distribution to the most vulnerable. This is a first step, and government will continue, the federal government will continue to support all the state governors, the local government, all the subnationals, so that the hardship being experienced by most Nigerians in terms of shortage of food supply is bridged. Government will continue to do whatever it takes to ensure that Nigerians have enough food to eat. Of course, you also know some of the interventions that the federal government has done in the agricultural sector, boosting our own capacity to produce food, not just for our domestic consumption, but also possibly for export. And government will continue to do that. We know that this will not solve the problem entirely, but this is a necessary first step that it has taken, and government will continue to do that. And you can see the speed with which the federal government has ensured that this is done. Now, what we want to say is the federal government also wants to appeal to the subnationals to ensure effective distribution of these food items so that those that are most vulnerable have access to this commodity.
Meanwhile, the Senate has sacked Senator Ali Ndume as Chief Whip of the Senate, replacing him with Senator Tahir Mongunu, representing Borno North. The sack followed a voice vote after the commencement of plenary, where the upper chamber took a unanimous resolution to effect the replacement following a letter of complaints from the headquarters of the All Progressives Congress read by the President of the Senate over the utterances of the Chief Whip, which they say is unbecoming.
Lawmakers had barely settled after they converged for the first plenary in the week when a letter from the national headquarters of the All Progressives Congress was read by the President of the Senate against the utterances of Senator Ali Ndume.
His latest tirade, government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, has been run by thieves. His utterances, which are sheer propaganda, are not based on verifiable facts. We are of the opinion that distinguished Senator Mohammed Tahir Mongunu should immediately replace distinguished Senator Ali Ndume.
According to the letter, the APC indicates that Senator Ndume resign his membership from the party and formally join the opposition rather than decimate the cohesion the party currently enjoys. The matter is then put to a voice vote.
Those of you who are in support of the decision by the party, can you shout aye? Aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it.
Only a lone voice was heard in dissent. Consequently, the four-time senator is sacked and replaced by his counterpart from Borno North. The senator, who is conspicuously absent, has been making critical remarks about the president, the nation's economic hardship and food scarcity in the country. He's also stripped as co-chair of the Appropriations Committee in a mild reshuffling.
The chairman of the Senate Committee on Tourism becomes distinguished Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume.
After attending to other businesses of the day, the matter is resuscitated following a point of order.
I have received several calls far and near on why a senator, especially a ranking senator of the Federal Republic, will call all of us kleptomaniacs. I would like this matter of privilege to be referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges.
Those who believe that the party APC has taken appropriate sanctions and therefore it should not be referred to any further committee, say aye. Aye. And those again say nay. The ayes have it.
In 2017, under the 8th Assembly, Senator Ali Ndume, as leader, equally faced sanctions and was suspended for 6 months over false allegations leveled against former Senate President Senator Bukola Saraki and Senator Dino Melaye, bordering on certificate forgery, among others.
Meanwhile, against the backdrop of the Plateau School building collapse and in a matter of urgent national importance, the Senate has asked the federal government to immediately prosecute all those found violating the laid-down rules for construction and establish structures to halt construction failures going forward. From the National Assembly, Gloria Omezuke, Channels Television News.
When Newsround returns, President Bola Tinubu launches Student Loan Portal. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Newsround, where we do you a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Thank you for staying with us. Now, President Bola Tinubu has launched the portal of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund and handed out symbolic checks to students and some institutions. At the event which took place in the council chamber in the State House, he restated his conviction that education is the greatest weapon against poverty, insecurity, and terrorism.
The council chamber is filled from the leadership of the National Assembly, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, some ministers, heads of agencies, members of the board and management team of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, led by the board chairman, Mr. Jim Ovia, to students and representatives of some tertiary institutions. They're here for the official launch of the portal of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. President Bola Tinubu arrives to preside over the event. The chairman of the board makes a few remarks on the initiative.
Mr. President, I will also start by making reference to World Bank as well as the United Nations Development Goal, of which education is number 4, and of which Mr. President has recognized that.
The president restates his conviction that education is the greatest weapon for building an inclusive and fair society.
Without education, there is no development. Without education, you cannot even successfully conquer poverty, insecurity, and abuse in the society.
He then turns to the managing director.
At this stage, we are asked if you have enough funding to disburse to the students who had applied. May I ask that question?
Your Excellency, you certainly may. At this stage, we have more than enough funding. When we start to promote this properly, we will probably need more. But right now, we can disburse to every single person who has applied.
The president then launches the portal.
It's my honor to launch the program.
He also handed out checks to some students from the 6 geopolitical zones and representatives of some tertiary institutions, signaling the commencement of disbursements of the student loan. The managing director of the fund then speaks on the number of applications received so far.
Institutions in the north of the country have been very proactive at supporting and helping their students and in providing their data to us. So that's where the leaning is currently. In the southern part of the country, there's growing awareness and there's growing interest. And I think there's been a lot of skepticism.
The scheme is expected to have a positive impact on the lives of the average Nigerian family. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Also in education, the federal government has mandated that candidates under 18 years of age cannot be admitted to tertiary institutions. Education Minister Tahir Mamman announced this at the 2024 Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board policy meeting in Abuja. While this decision drew mixed reactions from vice-chancellors, rectors and registrars, the minister criticized the parents for pressuring underage children to seek admission. He emphasized that the 18-year age requirement aligns with the 6334 education system for students unable to gain admission. The Minister of Education is introducing skill-based programs starting from primary school.
When I was monitoring the just concluded 2024 UTME, I was alarmed at the participation of a large number of obviously underage children candidates in the examination hall, which necessitated my comment on the need to enforce the extra provisions of the educational policy, which made provision for 9 years of basic education and 3 years of senior secondary education before entry into tertiary institution. Overall, it is clear that a child who as expected is enrolled in basic school at the age of 6 and having undergone 12 years of education will be around 18 years old when he enrolled in a tertiary institution. And if I may ask, as a former PC, I've seen in practical terms how these children who go to university and their age struggle to cope. Not only with the program itself, but also in managing their lives. These are people who have lived under care throughout the pre-university education.
To politics, the reinstated Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shaibu's return home on Thursday began as a joyful moment, but it soon turned sour following the eruption of gunshots on Airport Road outside the Benin airport. At least one person, a mobile police officer attached to the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Monday Okwebolo, was reportedly killed in the incident.
Supporters of the reinstated Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu stand around the area outside the protocol lounge of the Benin airport on Thursday morning, awaiting his homecoming. His emergence elicits jubilation. He in turn greets the excited crowd. The governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the September 21 governorship election also arrived in Benin City on the flight that brought Mr. Shaibu. As the convoy of cars moves towards the exit gate, Mr. Shaibu stops to display some dance steps. Suddenly, gunshots rends the air. The sounds originate from Airport Road, Benin City, the Edo State capital, outside the airport, where it has gotten chaotic. The convoy is slowed down. There are claims some persons have sustained gunshot wounds. The convoy moves to the Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress on Ipupa Road, also in Benin City.
The PDP, the governor and his people, they already lay ambush.
As this eyewitness gives an account of the incident, the Edo State Youth Chairman of the APC, Tony Adun, also known as Kabaka, bursts in with some information. Mr. Adun finds it all overwhelming. He alleges the police could have done more.
We were coming, we saw them. So as we saw them, we now went to go and tell the CP in the lobby that 1 hour before the scene. I went to the CP and said, sir, look at the security report. These people, they are outside. They blocked the two entrances to the airport. They said they are not going to allow us to come out. And they are shooting sporadically. The CP could not even do anything. I was expecting the CP to call for more reinforcement to escort our candidate home. But unfortunately, nothing like that was done.
The chairman of the APC in the state condemns the attack. He levels allegations against the state government.
And this is sad, and we are going into election, and we are seeing this. We always say we don't want problem, but if there's a big problem, there's no problem. But there's a problem now. So we are letting the public know what Obaseki is doing and what he plans to do, and we will not fold our hands. But we are law abiding, and we are not going to fold our hands.
The corpse of the slain police officer subsequently arrives, and another journey begins. The destination is the State Police Command Headquarters, also in Benin City. A closed-door meeting with the Commissioner of Police follows. The meeting was still on at the time of filing in this report. Jessica Olubuse, Channels Television News.
And finally on News Round, this time we take you to the foreign scene in the United States, where there's been more facts emerging since the attempted assassination of former U.S. President Donald J. Trump in Pennsylvania, Butler. The former president said on Monday he is supposed to be dead, calling it a miracle. While Trump says he will not allow a potential assassin to change his plans, he says he does want to strike a different tone in the historic moment. Casualties from the Saturday shooting at the Trump rally were one bystander who was killed, a fire chief, and 2 others who were seriously injured. Authorities are trying to piece together what led to the Saturday shooting in Butler. Many questions remain about the man identified as the culprit, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. And that brings today's recap of stories that made headlines during the week to an end on News Round. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Thank you for watching.